Formula. Just one quick question regarding the in the New York San Diego series. I wanted to get your opinion on that. There's a lot of timeouts sometimes called by in order to cut the pitcher's consistency. What say you? Do you think that's a tool that should be used often, or is this overused? I just wanted your opinion about it. And obviously, what brought you here, this game against the Houston Astros.
Yeah, it's a very interesting first question, I got to say. Let me try to work my way through that one. So your question is, just to make sure I'm clearly understanding, the pace at which pitchers work, or you're talking about the fact that something was checked on his body? Which one are you talking about?
No, not the one about the one that checked with the ear.
The ear, yeah. No, we're talking about the ear.
About sometimes doing over timeouts or what say you in order to cut the rhythm of the battle.
Oh, yeah. I understand. Just the momentum of the game, trying to slow it down, whatnot. Yeah, it's something that it happens quite a bit in the postseason, and it is not really any different than any other postseason. The games do get a little bit slower. They will slow down. The magnitude of the play, the game, the pitches, sometimes a little bit bigger. So seeing guys take a little bit more time between pitches, whether it's stepping out of the box or walking behind the mound, pretty normal. So I can't really comment on the whole Mets San Diego. We were flying here. I didn't see much of the game. Won't comment on that one. But interesting opening question, I got to say. I wasn't expecting that one.
Just to get things into a better rhythm, what say you. And lastly, obviously, the opponent that you have in front of you guys, a very tough opponent that you guys know. Mm-hmm. Anything different about facing them of the postseason rather than the regular season that you want to share?
Obviously, the Astros have a very talented team. They've dominated the division here for a number of years. They've got everybody in their roster's got a lot of postseason experience. So we understand that. We understand what we're up against. We are super excited to be here. Okay, and our team's done a lot of things here over the last couple months to put ourselves in this position, and we feel really good about our chances. We've got to go out and play. Okay, the game is taken care of on the field. Doesn't really matter what I say here, but we're looking forward to it. Our team has taken on a very good, I want to say, focused identity here over recent weeks, and I feel really good about our club. And we're in a little bit different team right now than we were earlier in the year. So, yep.
Go right here in the front. Other side.
Scott, a two-part question, if I could. Mm-hmm. Thoughts about going against Verlander, and what have you thought of Altuve once again this year?
I'm sorry, the second part of it?
Thoughts about Altuve and what he's done this year.
Oh, yeah. First of all, about Justin Verlander, I mean, what can you say? Unbelievable Hall of Fame type career. On top of his game, maybe better than he's ever been most recently. And we've certainly seen him a lot through the years, and he's not slowing down, unfortunately, for us. So, again, really good competitor, got great stuff. Knows what he's doing out there in the big moments. It'll be a challenge for us, no question about him. We've faced him quite a bit. Do understand that he's really good at making adjustments throughout the course of a game. So as he's adjusting, we have to recognize where we're at and what he's doing against us. So again, playoff games oftentimes come down to 2 or 3 different at-bats throughout the course of the game. And our guys, I think, are aware of that. And big thing for us is not try to do too much. Get the ball in play. Jose, again, another guy I've seen a lot of over the years. Fantastic player, knows what he's doing, ton of experience, and he also has had his moments in the playoffs. So, again, I'm looking at what we bring to the table. Again, we're in Houston. I'm glad to talk about the Astros, but I'm more excited about our team. And if we play our game, feel really good about our chances in this series.
Go over here on the right to Larry.
Scott, what are your memories of playing for Dusty back with the Giants, and what's it like going against, in the playoffs, a manager that you played for?
Yeah, I have a ton of respect for Dusty. I've got the opportunity to play for a number of different managers throughout my career, and I think, when you eventually get the opportunity to sit in this seat, you take bits and pieces from each guy that you played for. And the thing I certainly learned from Dusty, the impact you can have on players when you get them to believe in themselves. Dusty is ultimately known as the ultimate player's manager. And how does he do that? He's a good motivator. He can relate to anybody that's ever put a uniform on, which is a credit to him. So I certainly have learned a lot from him in the short time I played for him. I think getting the opportunity to manage against him, again, ton of respect. I know how he does it, in his clubhouse. And again, everybody manages the game a little bit differently, but he does it the right way. He's a pro, and his experiences as a player, coaching, managing, I mean, he's pretty much done it all in the game.
Stay here in the front with Ryan.
Ryan Davis, Seattle Times. Scott, the series that you guys won here earlier in the year, obviously there were fireworks, but the end result was winning 2 of 3, something you hadn't done in a while. How big was that? I mean, I know the last few games that you played against them, you didn't have your full lineup against them, but how big was it to come in here and show that you can win after a lot of years where some goofy things happened and a lot of tough losses?
Well, I think, we have had some rough years coming into this ballpark and winning, and part of it was we were at a certain growth point in our development as a team and an organization. We were turning things over. We were going with much younger team, a team that maybe wasn't ready to come in here and compete. And I think after how we ended the season last year on a real positive note and had a very good vibe coming into this year, I think guys are anxious to get down here and play much better in this ballpark, and I think we have. I think we've pitched very well against the Astros this year. We did not play particularly well against them in the second half of our schedule against them, but early on when we had more of our regular lineup in there, I liked how we played against them. These games come down, like I said, 2 or 3 at-bats, executing, staying in the moment, and we're in a good spot team-wise right now. So I understand, matchups and regular season and all that other stuff. Be careful reading too much into that at this time of year. And the Astros, I'm sure, can attest to that. You play teams when they're hotter, colder, injured, healthy. Everything is different at this time of year because if you can walk, you're going to be out there playing. This is the playoffs. This is what these guys are driven towards. So you get everybody's best effort at this time of year.
Go right here in the front with Daniel.
Scott, with Logan going tomorrow, just with the extra rest, just how much more conviction do you have in what he can bring for you guys? And is the plan to go with Luis in Game 2? And if so, beyond that, have you guys mapped out the rotation?
We will pitch Logan tomorrow. And after that, to be determined. But, as far as Logan's going, Logan's had a phenomenal season. You go back to the adjustments he made in the offseason. His secondary pitches got much more consistent, different look to his whole repertoire and how he uses it. So I thought he had an awesome first half. Thought he was very deserving going to the All-Star game. It didn't happen for him. A little bump in the road in the second half. In August, I think he's really turned it on in September. Last couple of outings have been phenomenal. His ability to carry his stuff deep into the game. Last time out there in the 8th inning, we're seeing 97, 98 miles an hour with quality breaking balls, and he's a very good competitor. So as far as having confidence in putting him out there in Game 1 in this environment against Verlander, no better guy for us. Take it and run with it.
Go on the left over here, 3rd row, Christy.
Hi, Christy Rican from the Associated Press. What way have you seen Julio grow the most from the beginning of the season to where he's at now?
Good question. I think just understanding the game and what it's called for at the big league level and how quickly you have to make adjustments. I think when you go along through the minor leagues, you just don't play the same teams as often, and they certainly don't have all the information and reports and how they break you down. So I think he's understanding the importance of preparation at the big league level, which is way different than it is at the minor league level. And his routine right now is as solid as any guy that's got 5-6 years in the league has ever seen. He is locked in. And it took him a little while to figure it out. How much time to spend with the media, how much time to give friends and family when he's on the road, like teammates, and how to put it all together. At 21 years old, I could never. I wasn't ready to do that. So credit to him. But I think that's the biggest thing. His ability to make adjustments in game is outstanding. He understands what they're doing to him in the batter's box and how he needs to maybe make an adjustment to get the results he's looking for. But above and beyond that is his preparation and his routine when he gets to the ballpark every day. It took him a while. It did. It did. Like, do I show up this time? What do I do when I get here? Like, he right now has an awesome routine. That's a credit to him and also some of our veteran players that have helped him out.
Go in the back left, JP.
Hi, Scott. Thinking about Mitch Haniger and his story, the last couple of celebrations you're there, when you've seen him able to enjoy this moment, all that he's endured to get back on the field, all the years he's been here, what have been your reflections on just watching his journey?
Both Mitch and Marco Gonzalez have been here the longest with me and kind of see the whole turnaround from where we were in 17 and 18 to kind of, the step back, rebuild, whatever you want to call it, and those guys being a part of the entire thing through it. Now, in Mitch's case, dealt with a very serious injury. And, his ability to get back on the field and perform at the level he's at, it's a credit to him. I don't think anybody saw or could anticipate what would happen to health-wise, with him. But when you're in those moments and you finally get to the point now you are clinching and you are winning a first-round series in the playoffs and, get to talk to him and appreciate it, I have a ton of respect for him because ever since we acquired him, for me, he's like the epitome of a professional player. Like, he is as prepared with his body, eating the right things, sleeping the right, working out at the right moment, understanding his swing, understanding the opponent, understanding his team. He's got the whole gamut. He's got it covered, and he does not back off. It's almost like a machine. It's a robot. But that's what makes him good, and understanding that. But I have a ton of appreciation for that and what that can do to the rest of the guys in the clubhouse. It's not for everybody, okay? He may think it is, but it's not for everybody. Everybody has to, but the guys are going, oh, this is what Hanny's doing. Hanny's watching video. What does Hanny think about this pitcher? What's Hanny doing in his off day? What's Hanny doing in between, workouts or whatever? Like, players are curious. They see the guy going through it every day, grinding through it, the success he's had, and maybe it'll help me. So, and that has rubbed off in our clubhouse.
Go in the middle, Aaron.
Hey, Scott. Aaron Goldsmith, the Wheelhouse Podcast. Two questions. Can you expand on something you said a few moments ago? You said that you feel like your team in recent weeks or so has taken on a more focused identity. Can you tell us more about that?
Always proud of the way we prepare. I always have been. I just think we have become there's more tunnel vision here than maybe there has been in years past, and rightly so. I mean, when you play for the Seattle Mariners, it's been 21 years since you've been in the playoffs. The tunnel vision has been on a singular focus, is how to end the drought. And not just we talked about it as soon as we got close. We were just started. This team is just starting, and our team has bought into that, and they believe that. So the focus has just become more, it's just more tunnel vision. And, you're talking to guys, and it's about one thing at this time of year. And that's the beauty of the playoffs. It's about one thing. What do we need to do to win today's game? It's not about preparing for the next day, or we need to give this guy 3 or 4 days off, or this guy needs a mental break. It's all about, no, Skip, what do you need me to do today? Whatever I can do to help the team win, I'm in. Like, that's the beauty of the playoffs, and that's where our team's at right now. So that's what I meant by that.
So kind of along those lines, we had a chance to talk to Jose Altuve today and ask him what he's seen from the Mariners this year. And he said that the Mariners are playing not to be heroes, they're playing to win. And I'm guessing all 30 managers would like it if that was said about their team. And it hasn't just been the last 2 weeks that's been the case, right? So with that in mind, how have you managed to instill that type of mentality in your clubhouse?
It takes time, and I think along the way, you have to make some tough decisions, and maybe there's some people who don't buy into that philosophy, and then you have to kind of weed them off your roster, so to speak. But you're ultimately looking for a group of guys who can buy into that and doing the little things and not being focused on being a hero. And, we've seen it play out for us a number of times throughout the last couple of years. We play in all the close games, and we have a knack for winning them. And I think we win them because we're not looking to be heroes. We talk about it openly. When we're in those moments, you'll often hear guys say, this is our type of game. We got this. And I may start it, but I may whisper it in the right person's ear that can pass it along to the rest of the group, and it becomes a vocal battle cry, so to speak. But that's what it takes. And at this time of year, it's all about team. It's one thing that matters. What's going to allow us to win that game?
Go in the back left to Alyssa.
Alyssa Charleston, Fox 13, Seattle. Servais, I was just curious, the difference between players coming into the dugout when you're down in the past, when you're down 3 or 4 runs back in 2019 or 2020, the vibe in the dugout at that point versus even on Saturday. What are the main differences you see with either players talking or just the presence they have, I guess, to know that it's not over?
Yeah, first of all, it's different players that are in there. That has a lot to do with it. In 19 and 20 and 21, we didn't have Julio Rodriguez, to be honest with you. What he has meant to our team, not just on the field, but the constant energy and joy to play baseball is very unique in our game. And I don't know if there's too many players that have it. I say this, he's 21 years old. I hope to God I'm saying it when he's 31 years old. Because if that's the case, yeah, it's going to be some kind of special. So he's been a lot, but the players are different. The personalities are different, and how they approach this thing. And the unique thing about our team, and I've said it multiple times, is we almost interact like a college team or an amateur team. They get along that well. They're that tight The families get along. We have a number. I've never seen so many little kids in my life. They're all the same age. They all have little ones at the same time. They're all in it together. They're all living life at the same pace, so to speak. And again, the backgrounds are all different, coming from different parts of the country and the world, but they're all going through it together, and they're leaning on each other, and it shows up in those moments. When you're down in a ball game, and you're in a bad losing streak or whatever, and I've often talked about this, is, look around the people in the room. Like, the cavalry's not coming in. It's the guy next to you that you need to lean on. And that's part of being a good teammate, which we talk a lot about as well. So I've openly talked about this. This is my favorite team. I love this team. I love how we compete and prepare and all those other things. But those intangible things that you don't often see, until you get in those games like we did the other night, then it shows up. And it's fun to see it when it all comes together.
On the second row with Matt.
Matt Calkins to the Seattle Times.
Good to see you, Matt.
Yeah, you too. Scott, obviously this is the biggest moment to date for Logan Gilbert coming up tomorrow. But these past 2 Septembers, this year and last year, when you guys were in the thick of a playoff race or jockeying for playoff position, he was at his best. Do you think that's a coincidence, or is there something about his wiring that makes him step up in those?
It's not coincidence. I think you know where I'm headed there. I mean, Logan, to get in these moments and have the confidence to go out and perform, it's all about your preparation ahead of time. That's what builds confidence. And nobody prepares like this guy that I've been around. And he does some of the quirkiest stuff I've ever seen. It's balls, it's a bag he carries around with I don't know how many toys and trinkets and all the other exercises and things he does with it. It works for him, and we're not changing it. But he believes in it, and he does not get off it. He stays on the program and the process. And for me, that's what you're looking for in a young pitcher. You also want him to be able to throw 98 miles an hour and have nasty stuff, which he checks that box as well. But I go back to a funny story with Logan. The first time I ever met Logan, we drafted him. We could bring him in like we do all the first-round draft choices, and you get to meet him. He'll stop in the office for a minute, and he's nervous as heck. And the kids he had a suit and tie on and the whole thing. And I talked to him for a few minutes. And in 2018, we were kind of going through a playoff push. We were in a big spot, and he was in the stands that night, sitting down close to the dugout. And I happened to notice him about the 5th inning of the game. I was like, oh, they stuck him down close to the dugout tonight. He wanted to, and it ended up being a walk-off Nelson Cruz, walk-off homer that night. And as the guys are jumping up and down and charging the mound or whatnot, I happened to look over to him, and as I'm walking out, and I look at him, I said, you will be out here in 2 years. I never forget it. He remembers it too. Okay? It's just, you have those moments with players. I knew he needed to be a dude for us to ever get here. Okay? So why not start in that moment? Because this is ultimately where we needed to get to. So he's been dialed in. He believes in the Mariners. We certainly believe in him.
Go on the second row, Corey.
Hey, Scott. Corey Barak with The Athletic. I'm curious, when you guys put together your roster for the Wild Card series, just being a 3-game series, it didn't appear, at least from the outside, there were a lot of challenges. What does a 5-game series in terms of settling on roster composition mean? Does having more pitching seem prudent? I'm not asking you to give away any secrets, although you're welcome to, but if you could kind of just walk us through the challenges there.
Well, I think it is different, 3 to 5. Certainly much different when you get to 7-game series. But, for us, probably as much as anything, you look at the healthier team. Carlos had the hamstring, bark up the other night on him. So you're taking all those factors into play, when you're putting a roster together. The one thing that is a little bit unique in this 5-game series is the off days. There's an off day before Game 2, there's an off day before Game 3, and that plays into the decision-making as well.
Go in the back left for JP.
Scott, just thinking about the importance of Houston in your own baseball journey. Of course, they drafted you out of Creighton, 3rd round, and you play your first game for the Astros and your last game for the Astros. Just maybe reflect on some of the people who made the biggest impact on you during that time.
Great question, JP. I'll go down memory lane here for a minute. When I first started with the Astros, Bill Wood was the general manager. Bob Watson was the assistant general manager at the time. This is going back to when I got drafted in 1988. I was a 3rd-round draft choice. Luis Gonzalez was the 4th-round draft choice that year. We came up together in the minor leagues. A lot of other good friends. Obviously, Darryl Kyle was one of my best friends, playing with him in the minor leagues and then in the big leagues. And when I got to the big leagues, You know, Bagwell was here. That was his rookie year as well. Biggio was already kind of established here, but we were going through something at the time. We were rebuilding, you know, in the Astros. And fortunate for me, rebuilding was the right team for me to be on because they gave me a chance to stick in the big leagues and play a little bit. But yeah, a number of memories. I bought my first house here. My 2 older kids were born here in Houston. I lived here for a little over 4 years, 5 years before I got traded to the Cubs and then moved out of Houston. So a lot of memories, the people you meet along the way when you're coming up. Those are oftentimes the people you're closest to. And, my third base coach I met in AA. Manny Acta is my third base coach. He's been here since day one. Manny Acta, I met up with the AA team. My roommate, when I met the team, was Manny Acta. So I've known Manny a long, long time. He obviously cut his teeth with the Astros and then moved up their system in the managing, and before he moved on to big league jobs elsewhere. So a lot of ties here to Houston. Dr. McMullen was the owner here at the time when I came in. It's on and on and on. I think I can go too long. I'll stop right there. But yeah, it means a lot. Every time I come back to Houston, still have friends here. And certainly get a chance to see, some old teammates that you spend a lot of time with.
Go one more with Ryan here.
Hey, Scott, you mentioned Carlos's hamstring. Is that okay? Is he going to be able to post?
Yeah, he's good to go.
Yeah, was it just?
He got a cramp
Okay.
in his hamstring. It happens. It happens more when you get older, obviously. I have them sometimes in the middle of the night. Unfortunately, he took a big hack the other day, and then when I went out there, it was his hamstring. He had a cramp in it. He feels better today. He got out and run around a little bit. Again, you won't see Carlos stealing any bases, but he'll be good to go.